What's up, people? X on X here. Accidentally doing G Man's here introduction on accident exercise the point.
Regardless, we already fucked up in every episode so far. Este,
It's
and
fine.
yeah,
So wouldn't be the first time you fucked up something.
yeah. But today's episode, I guess we call it, we gotta talk about Chainsaw Man because apparently there's been new chapter revelation that accidentally proved my point on my first video of Makima being the good guy. Yes.
And Makima's point on basically about the whole like world peace thing, even though it was a bit distorted, but at least her intentions were pretty good for the most part on that.
Yeah.
Much like how Pac Moth was trying to save his wife through some rather tough means. Same thing with her. Now you're gonna see in that how things went with that chapter, as he's gonna show.
Yeah. Because I'm the one who read it first, right? So I will do the honors. Uh, before we do
Well,
that,
by all means,
for before we do that, for whatever reason you haven't worked the first one, to recap real quick, like a quick summary of the original like thesis, of if you want to call it that, right? I made a statement that Makima was actually secretly the good guy all along throughout the story, given the bigger picture, the lore and the all the implications that's been revealed so far, right? Este, Despite her upbringing as a weapon, that she was raised to be as a weapon, despite that, she still wanted world peace. And to make it clear, the government in the Chainsaw Man universe, and to be more specific, the American government, because that's the only time we see an actual government official do anything, has stated as such that Makima will want world peace. They are against that, right? They actually work with the Gundam, the thing that she's fighting against, but she wasn't aware of that before she got killed
right,
by Denji. And she made even more
right.
clearly that he wanted to make world peace where there's no war, this like famine, no disease, no poverty, none like that. It's been later revealed that those things that she mentioned are her sisters, who are the four horsemen of the apocalypse. At the time, we didn't know that, but like now we know. Este, and she also made clear that either she was responsible directly or indirectly, or at the very least, she was a proof of the changes. Where in the Chainsaw Man universe, Nazis don't exist. So there's no World War II, there's no World War One. Well, there was a World War One, but there's no nuclear weapons. There's no asthma. There's no the AIDS. AIDS don't exist. Either she was responsible for those things, or at the very least, she approved of those things, right? So off screen, she saved around 200 plus million people. That's roughly like 5% of the global population within the time frame of the Chainsaw Man, which takes place in a
And
alternative history 1990s, right?
and
Now,
getting to the whole I was gonna say getting to the whole like with the chapter that revealed what happened in America, in their version of America anyway,
yeah,
the whole
eh,
reinvention of the weapons.
yeah, that's the problem. The new chapters were revealed by Yoru that the United States has recreated nuclear weapons from scratch, despite the fact that the nuclear devil was raised from existence by the Chainsaw Devil. So America in the Chainsaw Man universe is so cartoonishly evil that they recreated a new devil from scratch, pretty much. As the
And that brings us back to our
which proves
point.
Makima's point.
Yes, which brings us back to basically what happened. We'll go into the events of part one, where she wanted to basically create world peace, even though her methods were through like subjugation and whatnot. At the end of the day, her goal itself was good in practice, just not the path that she was trying to go with it. But looking at how things turned out in part two, with that revelation of them basically now that she's gone, thanks to Denji, and then basically reinventing the nuclear weapons, then this just kind of proves the whole point of like her trying to create world peace. Like you even said in the previous part, in part one, you even said they don't want world peace. And then you see them create the nuclear weapon. So it's like, well, then I guess this just basically, like you said, proved her point about the whole entire situation. So
Yes.
now basically no one's in the right at this point because except for when she was trying to create world peace, and then they don't want that. And now we're back to wars. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So much
Eh,
for making a good positive impact.
Pretty much like for people who are interested on my original thesis, go back to the previous video where we go more detail on that, right? But like
Yeah.
but in this case, I gotta focus more on part 2 because I gotta be honest, me personally, I know the people who are still watching or slash reading Chainsaw Man, it's fell off, it lost the plot for a while now, right? The
You know
author,
what? You know what? Okay, let me just say something. Part two. Okay, listen. The best way to sum it up, and then sadly, I hate to say this, but once we get to part two for the anime, it's gonna be shit. Oh man, when we get to part two for the anime, it's not gonna be so good. Okay, what I'm trying to say is like, because I read a bit of part two. Okay, I'll say this: it has a good start, but then once we reach past that Chainsman charge part, that's when everything just goes to shit. Then it's just a sinking ship. Then
what
it's like, what the hell, dude? You even saw it in the comment section in that new chapter where even people were saying the same thing I said, like, what's going on? Like, I don't even understand what's going on. Oh, and here's another kicker: the Famine Devil. It turns out Fammy isn't the Famine Devil. Plot twist for some reason in that part, she's a Death Devil, even though she called herself Little D. I don't think you'll get monetized for that, but just
maybe
or
maybe
demonetized
maybe
for that.
maybe
But
that's her future rap name. Is the rapper career? That will be the new meme. No, but like,
Okay, dude, if she gonna have having a rapper career, then she gonna have to be a DJ devil or something.
hey,
It's like, okay, the
I mean,
DJ devil.
there is a real life rapper called Little Dicky, so it's like, you can work with that.
But yeah, like that's the problem with part two is that, like for example, like I think the last part I read was when she was when Yor was possessing Asa's body, and then it went with the Eternity Devil or something like that. I think it was that. I forget their name, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that
they're
was like
basically just one of the
yeah
primal devils,
yeah that was like 20
and
chapters ago.
then I kind of stopped from there. And then when I heard from you about how shit was going, and then when I even saw myself, I was like, yeah, this shit's just going downhill. And that's another problem with part two is that we switch from one protagonist, or should I say, we switch from one focus to another focus. First, we're focusing on Asa and Yoru, then, of course, Denji, and then we just, for some reason, just can't have we're inconsistent with the person we're focused on. And
Quite
then what also doesn't help, what?
no, go ahead, go.
No, I was gonna say what also doesn't help is that for some I forget I don't know how many chapters because I stopped reading because of how things weren't making sense to me or how the momentum just lost its momentum is that we forgot apparently the author forgot that Asa existed, so for the longest time we're just focused on Yoru, and it's only until now that Yasa appears again. I'm like, okay, well, so much for that shit. It's like we just ain't keeping it up. And then on top of that, we have Yoru. I mean, I forget which chapter it was, but it's basically she was like doing something about fighting, or I forget which devil she was going against. It's been a minute, but yeah, when we just kept focusing on her, then I don't understand where we're going with this. I was even asking myself this, like, okay, where are we going from here with her doing what she's doing, or her trying to get the nuclear weapons to protect her children? Then I just feel like we went from that to basically reinventing nuclear weapons again. So I'm like, okay, we're jumping from one shit to another. Like I said, just imagine how this is going to look when the anime part two comes out. It's not going to look good at all.
Very much. No, but I
Like in
was
the
about to
beginning, like,
like I was about to
oh,
say
sorry, I
two
was going to say,
things. Go on.
no, I was going to say real quick, like in the beginning, it looked like it was going to build to something. Then in the long run, it's like, okay, so what are we doing? Because for example, if I were to ask you who's the main villain, I'm talking about like individually speaking. I mean, what can you tell me?
Not much. I mean, like lore wise, like bigger picture wise, it is technically the government, right?
Right,
But they only appear
right.
twice so far on screen.
But here's the thing. But we're talking about like for part two. I'm talking about like the main person, like a person, not the government, but the person. That's supposed to be a main antagonist of the part two. Is what I'm saying. If you
Yeah.
were to tell me who that is, yeah, who like if we were to go that direction, who is the main villain of part two? You see?
There's not really a consistent answer. Like sometimes it's the Chainsaw Man Church, sometimes it's the Fiend Devil for some reason. Even though for some reason
Okay,
that devil keeps coming back every time. I don't know how popular that devil really is, but like it's the or
okay. I hate
sometimes.
to say this, but
Mhm.
I hate to say this, but see, the fact that you just brought the Chainsaw Man Church, see, that doesn't make sense to me because Because the fact that they only appear once, I didn't even look at them as a main antagonist. I just thought, oh, okay, we're just passing by here. I didn't even look at them as a main antagonist. That's the problem. See, that doesn't even look good. I didn't even think of them as a main antagonist. I just look at them like, oh, we're passing by. What we doing? You know, like what's the icing on the cake?
Yeah,
And then you were saying it's sometimes something else. So I don't know. Like part two, yes, we get establishment with the four horsemen. We also basically get more understanding of like how things are set, but we don't know. We don't really have much of an antagonist. That's the only problem. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? There's a few times where it seemed like it was famine in the earlier chapters, like when she set up certain things. But as far as it goes in the long run, she seems kind of irrelevant now. Like I hate to say it, especially her revealing she's not the famine doll. So like, okay, well we get this reveal,
Oh yeah, and also because there's three things I want to say real quick. If the one,
but
the shortest one, now it's been revealed that
uh huh,
Chainsaw Man is ending soon, even though they just revealed the Daredevil. So it's like, so there's gonna be a
that doesn't
final
make
arc.
sense.
Well, there's the problem. There's four horsemen. The manga is gonna end soon. The final arc is being established. We don't know jack shit about the Death
Oh boy,
Devil or his motivation. We still don't know who the Famine Devil is, right? So it's
nope.
like, so like, there's a lot of shit to unpack. Unless they're gonna rush that shit. Sadly, I think that's gonna happen. I hope not, but like, that looks
Yeah,
like
they're
it's
gonna
the
rush
case.
it,
Yeah. And
dude.
number,
It's not even, dude. But no, I was gonna say real quick, like, dude, part two, and especially in the recent chapters, it's just kind of been all over the place. Because if you were to tell me what this is building up to, I can't really answer that question, and apparently you can't answer that question
yeah,
because I don't really know what's like for like part like for example part one. If you were to ask about that, oh, Denji just gets manipulated and then has to know the person that he thought actually cared about, even though despite the relationship not exactly being on mutual grounds. But part two, what is that about?
not much him being
You
horny.
see, yeah, that's not helping much. You see, dude, even in the video, you make it now. You just make him sound bad, but then again, that's kind of him on his own anyway. It's like Asa and Yoru introduction, but after that, you don't really get jack shit. I mean, again, you do get establishment of who the four horsemen are, or the
Yeah,
rest of them, I should say,
yeah,
but you don't really have a big idea of like, okay, so what we doing with this chapter, or not just a chapter, what we doing with part two?
yeah. But that's
Because
why
here's my problem. Here's my problem. Oh, sorry. I was going. Here's my problem with the fact that, like you just said, him talking about he's ending part two soon. Is that because of how he basically set up the ending, then part three is not going to make sense. Because then what's part three going to be about?
unless it's gonna be one of those like almost nonsensical like battle royale situations where everybody against everybody.
That won't even make. But dude, it's already not making sense for part two. What's that going to lead to part three? In part three, I'm like, I feel like he's like, I hate to say this, but I feel like he's legit kind of crushing his own uh run with this shit because I'm like, okay, part two ain't making much sense. It's like making a successful movie and then the second one's shit, and then it just starts from there. I'm feeling like it's almost starting to feel like that to me. I'm just saying because if part two ends at this point after this revelation, then what does part three have to offer? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, like what then? You know,
I don't know.
because
But that's why I
like I
want.
said,
That's
then
why I want to talk about like my other two things I want to point out. Like first one
okay,
to
go ahead.
like quickly to continue like the whole revelation that
Mm-hmm.
Denji no not Denji the Yoru is a bona fide American. I love America. God bless America. But like
Even though we the way to hell in Japan in this chat in these chapters, but okay.
uh, hey hey,
And just
we're talking about the world of manga. They love to introduce American or British, stuff all the time. Look at Helsing. But to go back on track real quick, now with this new revelation, right? The Yoru, because this is the problem I have. Like they kind of regress Yoru as a character a little bit because throughout the story,
oh,
we know her motivation. She wants to bring back war, but not for malicious reasons. It's more of her. She doesn't. She has the fear of being forgotten, right? That's her fundamental fear, to be forgotten. In a world there's no more war, people gotta forget about her. That's what she truly, why he wants to bring back war. Mostly because because of that. But throughout the
Right.
story, despite how nonsensical it can get, it shows her she's having some form of development where because of her connection with Asa, right? She started to develop some form of empathy, like some level of understanding, right?
Mhm.
Where you know, I'm not saying a full on redemption arc, but but more like a neutral character,
Sympathetic.
like yeah,
She. I was gonna
more,
say she. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
well,
She's becoming
like
a sympathetic devil.
yeah, like compared to other devils, like Makima is one of the very few devils that has a positive view of humans. If the most
Kind of.
devils either hate humanity or don't care about humanity. If the Yoru originally was in that category of like doesn't really care too much, she's very neutral about it. But because of her connection with Asa, she started to change that a little bit, just a little bit, right? If the But then with this new information, now going back to the war because for the evil, like so to speak, right? Like I fucking love war, if they it, if they that's why she loved America, and now and not only that, it kind of like again proving Makima's point, like the world peace thing, because now America again proving itself again that it's the evil one, you know. And some people notice on the internet whether or not it was intentional or not. If it was kind of genius the subtlety, the scar in her face, right? The recognizable look of Yoru, the looks exactly like the logo of Loki Martin, which is a private military contract to do weapons and stuff. So it's like if that was supposed to be a reference to that, actually low key genius. And also, for some reason, if the now because she's all powerful, or at least very powerful again, she started wearing a jacket that resembles a little too much of a certain German guy in the 1930s and
You see, here's a
40s.
problem. But here's the problem. But here's the problem. But here's the problem with that. Since World War II never happened, that doesn't really mean anything in the Chainsaw Man universe. That doesn't really mean anything.
Not really, but she knows it because she's a devil. She knows it, but outside of the devils,
Yeah.
the humans had no concept of
Yeah.
it. You know.
Exactly. So that's why it doesn't really mean much because that should never happen. So it's like, well, what do you? It's like because at that point it's just gonna be like, what are you wearing that for? Like, oh, okay, it's
Yeah,
like,
but
okay, that's
yeah,
just an outfit.
that's
That's it. You know.
yeah, that's more of a head scratcher. But like, besides the point. Like now she kind of regressed to a sympathetic character to just straight up the evil, well, or at least borderline evil, right?
Right.
And now another thing I want to talk about is how the second part like had a strong start but went downhill from there. Because for me,
Oh
Denji's
no,
in the end of part one, Denji's story was done. Like
it
his
was
story,
done.
he was basically finished. Like when they introduced Asa and Yoru, they they were supposed to be the new main characters. Like Denji's story is
Right.
over.
Right.
Now let's focus on new characters. That was interesting, right? Like we gotta focus a different side of the characters, like a different side of things, right? But for some reason they had to reintroduce Denji into the plot, while in reality, like I said, his story was done, right?
Yeah, that
Este,
didn't make sense to me either because I'm like, okay, so why we bringing him back into that for? Like, what the fuck?
yeah, and like over time, like we moving away from Asta more and more to the point that it's just Yoru now, for the most part. Eventually, she did came back in the last chapter, right, but barely, right? It's mostly about Yoru now at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, the recent chapter. Not yeah. After I forget how many chapters ago because I haven't kept up on it, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, and now it's the what's her name? Makima's reincarnated Nayuta.
Nayuta, yeah, she hasn't
Nayuta.
appeared since.
Well, she's dead, so
Yeah,
so they
that's what I'm
kill
saying.
her.
She hasn't appeared since.
Yeah, so they kill her. So whoever's gonna be the control devil this time is gonna be different because, like I said, they're going to the Buddhist conception of reincarnation where your consciousness survives death, but your personal identity does not. So each control devil is technically a different person, right?
Right.
So that's why, like I said, like mentioned in my previous video, the difference between Nayuta and Makima. Nayuta has more of a negative view of humanity, while Makima has a positive view. Nayuta that they actually can control her powers, while Makima cannot, which is ironic. A control devil can control her powers because of her
Right.
upbringing, right? And also like not because she's dead again, right? That's gotta be another head scratcher because now Denji has to deal with basically three of the four horsemen basically at the same time by himself.
Right.
Este, and also they never explained that because for some reason they just abandoned this subplot about the government, about we
Mhm.
need this government, to do whatever shady things, and basically they had their own Diddy ring, like that the nicest way I can say it, right? It's the
Oh boy. We get
I'm
on that. Yeah. Well, less on that Epstein thing, but more the Diddy route. Right.
or both, I don't know. It's the but like and because again
Well,
in
just be more
in
subtle.
yeah, at least in Denji's case, you can't really blame him why he betrayed Makima and stuff like that because again, he doesn't know the bigger
We have to
picture.
remember. Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Like, okay, let me get on to that. You see, because like him betraying. Well, actually, I hate to break it to you, dude, as you bitched it, because I'm about to say it now. I hate to say this, but his betrayal of Makima, on it really and truly, he never gave a shit about Makima. And I know there's gonna be some people that would try to defend that, but here's the problem with that: he just liked the idea of Makima. He didn't care about her as a person. You see, and I hate to put it that way, but it's kind of true because again, I even asked you, like him even trying to get closer to her in any sort of way whatsoever, and you said no. He's just going to her when it benefits him to feel important. So it's like, well, he's not really making the best example. Then it was like, yeah, his relationship is just transactional. It's
Uh,
not like like I said, I even
yeah,
use that example from Megamind.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's like it's just a Roxanne, it's just a Hal and Roxanne situation. You just like what she represented, and for him to turn on her, I hate to say that, but that kind of fits for that because, I mean, even when he went against her, I hate to say it because I remember those parts. Even when he went against her, it's not like he was trying to reconsole anything or fix anything. Instead, he was just straight up against her. You know,
yeah.
and then I don't mean to go this deep into it, but you see, because I had this discussion with you before about him, like in the after, like afterwards, him, being like crying or something about like her, like him never actually marrying her. But the only problem with that is she never actually married him either. So it's like, well, then you're being just like her, because like I said, like we've spoken on this before, is that he is a victim, but the sympathetic part goes out the window when you see he's being no better than her. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, it's like because it's not like again anybody who would try to defend us in this video. It's like it's not like he can say he tried to work shit out with her, or even when he thought everything was good, or like heard him saying that, oh, I tried to patch things up or be peaceful. Yeah, you can't really say that because let's be honest, he didn't really care. So
I can't wait for
and then he was bothered too.
the very civil discussions in the comment section. I can't wait.
Mm, it's true, but it's true because but it's true because if that's the case, then put one chapter where he decided, oh, let me try to buy her gifts so that way we can be closer, or let me try to give her comfort, and be emotionally available. Yeah, you see, like
Eh,
the moment, like I hate to say this, the moment I go in the direction of him trying to be like a good partner or to be like a very, I guess I could say, empathetic, sympathetic partner, he's just gonna sound bad if you'll go that direction. Then he's just gonna sound like he's a no good dude, and it's gonna be like, you know what, he's just being no better. It's like
I
because
mean,
if it's work,
it doesn't really help at the end of part one when he went to Makima's at the house. Well, yeah, it is her
uh huh,
house. It's a hotel, but it's technically her house. But like
yeah,
where instead of trying to be a mutual understanding, he just reinforced her preconceived notions of her upbringing. Where it's like, I want you to turn me into a dog who doesn't think. Where mocking
exactly,
if you were, I'm not saying be confrontational, but at least like trying to
uh
give a
huh,
different point of view, a sympathetic point of view. Where remember, Makima
uh huh,
is not manipulated to everybody for the sake of it, right? She only does it
right,
for her goals. She's not gonna go out of her way to
right,
manipulate a stranger for no reason, right?
right,
If you did something and be honest with Makima, you know, she probably changed her mind, at least to an extent. But because you reinforce that, like no wonder like she sees you as like, you know, like a pet because you literally want to be reinforce that thing, that sentiment.
See, see, that's two things for Digi. Not only that, he's reinforcing her mindset because he literally want to be treated like a pet. But then here he's trying to be. Yeah, here he's like, not really caring. See, this is what doesn't make Denji look good. He want to be treated like a pet by her, but at the same time, he doesn't truly care about her as a person. So it's like that's not making him look good. And like you just said, because that's what Makima sees when she, sees his behavior, then that's kind of the reason why she has her perspective on him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
because you know what? I'm about to say it. I'm about to say it. Anybody look at the video who would think of trying to say something against that? Tell me, look at this point. Look at this video straight with your eyes and tell me that Denji made a positive example of himself to Makima. Tell me, go ahead, go ahead. I want someone to say that. Go ahead and say that he was a great example to Makima. Go ahead. I would love to hear it. Go
Right.
ahead and say no. He was a good man to her. Go ahead. I want to hear someone say that. I want to hear someone say
Right.
that.
I kind of glad that my YouTube channel is super small because I swear that my
Mm,
comment section would be filled to the brim of notifications. Like it's like how fucking dare you? It's like, but yeah, but I mean, it
but
is true.
dude, but
It is
no,
true.
but see, that's what I'm saying because the moment they try to say it, okay, so put where give me one part where he actually showed Maki, but he actually gives a fuck more than just looking at her as just eye candy. Go ahead, show me.
I think the only time people would mention, like I'm trying to do it like I'm jogging my memory, right? It's been a while that I read the first 96
Uh
chapters,
huh.
but like,
Uh huh.
I think the only time where no, I think it was in part two, I think, where he did admit
But
that he still has feeling for Makima after everything that happened.
you
But
see, I have to stop you right there. I have to stop you right there because here's the problem with that. That those feelings you're talking about, that's him with the idealized version of her, not because he cares about her as a person. So try again.
okay, okay, fair enough. But like, but still, like,
Because it's not like he. Yeah, because like I
the
said, it's
problem,
not like
that's another problem. Pochita
what.
himself has better understanding than Makima, right? So
That's
it's
true.
like, and like he admits that like she's not evil. She just wants a family. She wants to be loved.
Right.
She never got
Right.
because of her upbringing. And okay, is
Right.
that now that I think about that, this is just the top of my head right now. Like,
What?
isn't that technically a
What?
plot hole? Why didn't Pochita never talk to Denji before the events of like during the events of part one that who Makima really is?
I mean, maybe because maybe because he didn't think Makima would actually show up. I don't know.
I
I
I I,
mean,
I mean like Makima knows that Pochita know who Makima really is, right?
I mean, of
Este,
course, but
like not like it.
maybe he, maybe he thought Denji wouldn't have been involved in that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to really tell you on that part.
Yeah, but still, maybe somebody if they bother to watch this video and reach that part of the video where we're talking shit to Denji, even though we don't really want to, and
Yeah, but I'm
the
sorry, but dude, I'm sorry, but dude. Well, listen. Even if this video did have more subscribers, like, I'm sorry, guys, but I have to point out I have to point out the elephant in the room because I'm not gonna let biases block the point that he never truly gave a shit about Makima. Even that last part you mentioned at the final chapter is like that's more of him just thinking about the idealized version, not of her, not because he actually cared about her as a person. Because like I
well,
already said, like I already
eh,
pointed out,
if you
I
want
like
to
I already
make
pointed out, he.
if you want to make it worse, if you want to make this worse for
Oh,
Denji,
great.
like
Uh oh.
even though he admitted basically very early on, pretty much from the start of the first part, right, that he had feelings
Mm-hmm.
for Makima, why the hell is he starting to go on trying to go on a date with the bomb devil?
You see what I'm saying? There you go.
Like
There you
like
go.
maybe it's me. Like, look, I believe in free love. Do what you do, right? But
Right.
if you want to be in a monogamous relationship, why
Mm-hmm.
you are going to another person if you have feelings for one person? You know what I'm
You
saying?
see,
It's like,
like you just said, that's not helping him. And no, and then like I said, that brings me to my other point. Is that, like I said, it's like I know, yeah, I'm talking shit, but here's the thing: like, there's one thing I've learned. Just sometimes, just because you're a victim, sometimes it doesn't necessarily put you in the right. Because if you're being no, like for example, if you're a dude who's been abused of some kind of, I don't know, like emotionally or psychologically, but then yet you like to use people. Well, tell me what you're supposed to think of that person if they like to use folks and they're the victim part of that shit. Tell me what I'm supposed to think of them at that point. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
yeah,
just because sometimes you're the victim doesn't make you in the right. Like yeah, you're in the receiving end of the shit. I'm not denying that he's a victim, but he's not a victim that makes a good example of himself. You can't say that he makes a good example of himself though.
yeah.
You can't say that he's yeah, like I said,
That's why people who hate Makima, yeah, what he did to Denji in particular is fucked up, and it's like repeat the cycle. Like how they treated her
right,
and how she's treating Denji like a parent who's been abused, and now she's abusing their own child,
right,
like that type of scenario.
right,
Like repeat the cycle,
right.
right? But like I said, she
Hmm.
only did it to Denji because she wanted to remove the chainsaw devil from Denji, right? Like
Right.
she doesn't want to manipulate her Denji for the fun of it, so to speak, right? Este,
Exactly. Exactly.
like this is like a very like Machiavellian view, like approach to things, right? And remember,
Pretty much.
in her upbringing, she could have easily become a psychopath in her upbringing, like Homelander,
She really
right?
could have.
Like
She
Homelander
really
has
could
a
have.
like Homelander had a similar upbringing, and look at what turned out to him. He is a straight up psychopath, narcissist, right?
But you know,
Who will
but
not
okay,
hesitate commit,
but
massacres. Makima, on the other hand,
dude,
despite her upbringing, right? Despite her upbringing as a weapon, right?
mhm,
Despite her, abuse, although they never explicitly mention, but like I said, who's gonna raise as a weapon and not suffer abuse? That's nonsensical. But like, despite her upbringing, she still wants to do a good thing, despite everything that happened to her.
even if it's distorted. No, but I was gonna say, like, I feel like a more accurate, just to be more clear, I feel like a more accurate description with that, if you're gonna use that example, is Shadow again, because like I mentioned before, Shadow of Adam Maria, then that's just Makima right, that you're looking at right there. I mean,
Yeah,
he wouldn't be like Homelander being psychopathic, but he would just be doing what he's taught. That's all. He would
yeah.
be more like her. He wouldn't be like Homelander.
And
So it's like,
before everybody else, like the fuck's Shadow. Yes, we already did a video about that as well. Just
yeah,
go back to my
yeah,
channel, look it up.
we did a video on that. So you can just go to that. We're not going to waste that energy here. Just go to that video. You'll understand. But no, but like I said, it's like yes. Like I said, it's like yes, Makima was she her abuse on Denji is bad. But like I keep saying, is that at the end of the day, it's not like again because I hate like let me put it this way like because this I mean and again this is just me pointing out the shit here that obviously happened in the chapters and shit is that Denji was also using Makima. Like she was using him, but then the way she was using him is because he would only go to her because he wants something from her. So he's just using her. That's how that relationship happened with him being used and him using her. And then he just ended up being receiving end of the whole entire shit. Like I said, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But like I said, at the end of the day, yes, he's a victim, but he's not a good example of one. Like people can say what the shit they want, but I'll say it straight up front because I'm not gonna sugarcoat nothing. He is not a sympathetic victim because the sympathetic part would be like because he actually showed he genuinely cared and wanted to work things out or become closer, right? While in his case, that's not it at all. He like again, Denji, like the comparison I want to use, like with Mega Mind with how Roxanne is that he's just like the idea of Makima, and she knows that. That's why she didn't care about him because she sees that he don't really care about her. And
yeah,
then because of that, he was. That's why he wanted her. That's like I said. That's why he wanted to treat him like a pet because he was just desiring her. He just
yeah,
wanted, like I said, he was just He was just projecting his desires onto her, and just saw her as more of a supply for him to go to when he felt like feeling something, not because he actually cared about what's going on for her. Because again, let me ask you again, dude. Like I mentioned before, yes or no? Did he ever concern himself with what was going on in her personal life?
no,
You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Did he ever concern himself with how Makima personal feelings feel?
no.
Did he ever concern himself with how Makima would feel or how she, feels about him as a person?
Not really. Like I said, I already mentioned about like he reinforced her because he knows just like when he trying to be personal with her in the final couple of chapters, este kind of ruins the thing. But and also like the fucking like the only time that he mentioned like his opinion of her opinions, right, was basically like after this new world peace, like the only disagreement he had was kind of like I don't want to say stupid, but like compared to everything else going on, pretty minor. Like
What?
will there still be like bad movies in her? in her ideal
Crappy
world.
movies.
Yeah, like shitty movies. She says no, there's like that. Then I disagree. Like, I mean, okay, okay, that is a disagreement, but
Mm,
to compare to everything else is like that's it. That's the only thing. It's
mm. No,
you're
but like no, but see, but I'd like to ask you something because you were mentioning something about his like the only time he has like a personal moment was in the what the last chapter with him and her.
yeah.
Like what part are you what part are you trying to bring from that that's supposed to speak about like I don't know anything even close to like trying to show that he had like I don't know be trying to be close in a relationship.
Not really. Like they only went a movie theater one time, and
Yeah, but you
like
see, that's another bad example because he saw her crying and he didn't concern himself with it. You see, you're just putting examples that I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't make it look any better. That's why, like I keep saying, he like he is a victim still, but the sympathetic part is thrown out the window because he make it very clear that he don't really care about Makima as a person. He just like the idea of her. That's it. Like I said, outside of that, that's pretty much it. You know.
pretty much.
Like I said, people could say shit what they want if they watch this video, but the point is, my point still stands is that yes, he's a victim. I'm not denying that, but at the same time, as a person, he doesn't give a shit about Makima. But like I said, the sympathetic part's out the window. Like I said, especially that one part he complaining that she never actually gave a shit about him. But dude, you never gave a shit about her. Because just imagine you at one of your friends' place or something, and then they complain about like this girl, she ripped him off, but then you find out he also ripped her off too. Like, well, then you know better than her. So I mean, why are you trying to seek sympathy and you being just like her? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, then that's thrown out the window. Any sympathy's thrown out the window. And why I find out you did the same thing? So it's like, well, so much for that shit. You know, it's like.
It's like the classic saying, like, do as I say, but not as I do. You know?
Like I said, because compared to because like oh, I must bring this up right now because like some people try to compare Bubblegum and Finn to Makima and Denji. That comparison is superficial at best because first of all, their relationship dynamic isn't even the same. Secondly, the subtext is completely different. And the moment you remove Denji and Finn from the equation, you have nothing to compare. Period. You know, like I think we've done a video on that too. It's like there's literally nothing to compare at all. And then on top of that, Finn actually gave a shit about Bubblegum, but Denji didn't give a shit about Makima, really and truly. He didn't give a shit
No,
about Makima, truly.
not
Like I
really.
said, I know, like I said, yes, like I keep saying, yes, he's a victim, but just because sometimes you're a victim doesn't automatically make you in the right. Because let's be honest, he's not in the right. Because if we're talking, because ignoring the abuse she inflicted on him, if you just focus on the relationship dynamic, you can't tell me he's in the right in that relationship. You can't tell me he is,
Not
honestly.
not really.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. Like their relationship is more complex than because I know this is people keep trying to turn into a black and white situation, but then that's ignoring the fact that he really is being no better. He's using her too. It's just that they ignore it. Like I said, that's why Monkey never was vulnerable around him with her true self because the issue looked at that as like he would just use that too. So it's like that's why she didn't do it. Because and sadly, I hate to say it, but I think that's kind of true. Like that's in the right because to point that out because like I said, he would have done the same thing with that. So like I said, he never truly cared about her, because here he's like, like I said, he is on the receiving end of a bunch of shit, but at the same time, like, and that's another problem with Denji too. Even if you don't want to count the heroism, even just as a person, he still don't look good. Even as a person, he still don't look good. Even if you don't want to count altruism, he still don't look good. Even if you don't count that, so that's not good
Pretty much.
because like I said, as a person, he just like okay. I mean, I will say he has positive traits, but let's be honest, his negative traits overshadow his positive traits. Like, because again, the moment I ask you questions like this, is he a very thoughtful person? Does he care about how his actions affect those around him? You see,
I mean, Denji.
you see what I'm saying?
Share, I
You
mean,
see what I'm saying?
he
You
has
see what I'm saying?
he shares the same brain cells power. So it's like we talk about intelligence,
Yeah,
like that doesn't
but
play
no,
a
but no,
factor.
what I'm saying is, but no, what I'm saying is, it's like the moment you look at basically the shit he's done, and or should say the kind of behavior he shows, and then you see his behavior, it's like, look, you may be on the receiving end of that pole, but you still don't look all that great. Like, because again, if you compare him to, like I said, if you compare him, because essentially what use that shit, you compare him to Finn, did you look like shit next to him? Because at least Finn actually gives a fuck. And Finn
Yeah,
actually wants to make a good example of himself, but Denji don't think like that. Denji don't think like that. He's just thinking about titties and sex. That's it.
pretty
Everything
much.
else kind of doesn't really matter. Like I said, like I said, that's where Denji looks like shit next to him because he doesn't really give a shit. Like I said. He's like even in part two of Asa, like okay, did Asa kind of care about? I mean, did Denji kind of care about Asa? Yes, but the moment you wait, him still seeking sex over trying to get closer to Asa, which weighs him the most? And that, you and I both know the answer to that question.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Like I said, yes. Like I said, yes. I acknowledge that Denji is a victim of circumstance, but at the same time, just sometimes just because you're a victim doesn't automatically put you in the right. Especially when you're not being any better than the person that abused. Because like I said, I was going to look in a meeting where they see the circumstances and then look at the type of shit that's going between his relation dynamics, and it's like, well, you be no better than her. You know, like I said, when they look at him, then they're not going to look at him like being completely helpless. They're just going to look at it like, well, you're part of that toxic, formula. You're not you're not on the downside of it. You're a part of it. And it's not me trying to make his victimization sound like it's not a big deal. It is, but at the same time, his actions don't make him look good because you can't say his actions make him look good because just because you're a victim, that doesn't make your actions automatically look good.
yeah,
Like I mean, I didn't mean to turn this into a whole thing about his circumstance, but it's true because, like I said, for the longest time, people do kind of ignore that because they keep trying to turn Denji's situation from Makima into a black and white thing, but it's not black and white at all. It's very nuanced because, like I said, like I said, he never cared about her, she never cared about him, and then the situation ended with him killing her, and then Nayuta coming in the picture, and then getting killed off too for some reason. So it's like that's what it is. But then but people biases keep trying to turn it black and white, and like I said, it's not black and white. So,
pretty much.
and then on top of that, like I said, is that even afterwards, he like I already said, he don't really care about her. He's just like I said, he's just like I hate to put it this way, but the best way for me to put this with his dynamic is that Makima's perception of him, like I've told you just before, is that damn I got off track. Is that she doesn't seem any different from no one else because he is no different from no one else she's met before. So it's like, you know, he's just like the next person that just sees me when it's convenient and then disappears when it's not. So
Pretty much.
and then like I said with part two, when we go all the way to part two, it's like, and that's another thing like you just said with like how that part has been going. Like we don't have a main villain for part two, and we basically just have the plot going nowhere. Like it has a good start, but goes nowhere. And and that's another thing too. I want to say about part two is that we have a lot of shit that's underdeveloped, especially for Asa. Her character is not developed at all, which sadly. And then not only that, like we don't have any. For example, we don't have a buildup that is actually trying to establish what the stakes are. You know what I'm saying? Like the official stakes of like, okay, what is the main shit we need to be dealing with here in part two? Yeah, see what I'm saying?
Pretty much.
Like you can't really like with part two, like we already mentioned earlier, is that part two kind of basically proved Makima's point of like when she was trying to do world peace, even though, like I mentioned before, yes, her way of trying to do world peace was distorted, but at least she had the good like ideas, intentions at place. But like I said, when we go to part two, now they are starting nuclear bombs and shit, even though they straight admitted that they don't want world peace. So it's like, well, I guess everybody pretty much just shown that they ain't doing such a good job. Oh
I,
yeah, now she's gone. Now let's create weapons. Yeah, way to make a good example of yourself with that. It's like,
literally, they are the lore wise the true overarching
mm-mm,
villains of the Chainsaw Man universe, but
pretty much.
they will be completely unchallenged. Like for in the story so
Mm-hmm.
far, it looks like the only actual villain will be the Four Horsemen, right? Like they're the final boss
Mm-hmm.
instead of the Washington State. Which again, given the lore implication, they're the ones causing the real trouble to begin with. Is the
Mm-hmm.
and also like we don't know nothing about the Four Horsemen besides Makima, who is like I said, the good guy by lore wise.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
Joe, the War Devil, started sympathetic, but now it went backwards, like character wise.
For some reason.
We don't know nothing about the Death Devil. The Famine Devil, we don't know who it is yet. Este, and
Right.
So like we don't know what. Well, we know the Death Devil's motivation is negative. Like he just hates humanity. So the Famine Devil we don't know nothing about. right? So it's and the story's gotta end soon. So it's like whatever
which doesn't
motivation,
help anything.
yeah, whatever motivations they have, the last two, four horsemen, technically we know what the motivation for the dead devil is, but for the family one, nothing. Este, so it's gonna be a rush mess. This is like for me, this is Chainsaw Man is one of those examples, where a story should have ended after that certain point. It doesn't even
Pretty
matter.
much.
It doesn't even matter if it ends open ended or kind of a cliffhanger. Like I hate to use this comparison, but it's actually kind of accurate. Beastars. It ended just right.
Yeah.
The creator itself knew, like, if I keep stretching this, I don't know what to do with it anymore, right? I'd rather stop here whilst I'm still have ideas with it. If I keep stretching it, I'm
Hmm.
like, it's gonna become a mess. So that's why, yeah, there's still a lot of unanswered questions in Beastars, but it ended just right. You know,
Right.
so those unanswered questions are for the lore fanatics, like you and me. But for the
Right.
when it comes to the main plot for the main character personal life, it got its ending. It got a proper ending. You know, they should
Right.
they should do that with they should do that with Chainsaw Man. Like chapter 96
Pretty
would
much.
chapter 96 would have been the last chapter.
Pretty much.
Denji's story was finished. Makima has been defeated, sadly. Given the context we know about the lore.
Right.
The world is safe, quote unquote. You know, it could have
Right.
ended there. Yeah, people would like to see, oh, what about the other four horsemen? What about the primordial devils? Like, yeah, that will be unanswered, but like it's one of those cases. It was better to like unanswered, like keep the mystery alive, so to speak.
At least that would have keep people guessing for a time until he decided to get back into it, because then he could, deliver those slowly and then be like, okay, so that's what's going on here, not just rush your stuff. So,
Yeah, like I said, if it ended there, I wouldn't complain so much about Chainsaw Man post, like post part one saga. You know,
I
este,
mean, part two had a good start, but then it turned to shit. And then now I don't even know what to even say about it. And even other people confused about the new chapters. I'm like, we in the same boat on that part because we don't even know what it's supposed to be leading to. All we know is that now it's just the weapons reinvented in America. I guess America's supposed to be the main villain now. I don't know. I don't know what to even tell you guys. And then it's just kind of Yoru going back to like, oh yeah, she loves America, even though we way to fucking Japan. But that's the point.
I, I
It's
mean,
like,
America, people complain about Americans being weeaboos about like Japanophiles. Is that the right term? Being
something like
obsessed,
that.
being obsessed with everything Japanese. There are Japanese who are like that with American culture. They are obsessed with like cowboys. Like hamburgers. Saying
Right.
saying fuck in English. It's like I mean, how many characters we have in anime, manga, night novels, visual novels, where they introduce an American character and it's like, if especially if it's an attractive woman, like blonde hair, blue eyes, very white, probably has an American flag bikini. It's like, it's like it's the most American thing ever. Like, what the fuck is a kilometer type of American?
I don't know. But no need to get off track. But no, the thing is that, like I said, the chapter is just like I said, part two ain't got much of a story. Then, like I said, once we get to the part two in the anime, that's gonna be like it's gonna be basically when the anime is just gonna just be on the worst part of the year. Then be like, oh crap. And I can already hear other people reviews saying we're saying, oh well, it had a good start, and then once we reach towards the Chainsaw Devil part, we don't know what the hell happened after that. And I'm like, I don't know. Like you were trying to say that the Chainsaw Man Church was like a village or something. But I didn't even, yeah, and again, I didn't even look at it like that. I just looked at it like we're passing by this shit. Okay, what we're gonna do next? Yeah, that's not looking good. If I didn't even consider it, and then we moved from that point, and now the plot's all over the damn place. I don't know what the fuck's happening. Yoru was the main focus for some reason. Now the focus jumped from one person to another. It ain't helping nothing. It's not helping nothing.
Yeah.
It's just once we get to the final, once we get to the end, we're supposed to be at the final page. And again, see, again with that problem with the with part two already having a final, we don't even have anything very well established. For example, the famine devil's not very well established. The death devil's not very well established. And then when we introduce the more of the primal devils, it's like, okay, well, what were we supposed to be doing with that shit? And then when we go and look into the basically having all the weapons back, it's like, okay, I feel like you're throwing all kinds of shit at once, and I don't know where we're going with this. Like I said, this is, I hate to say it, but part two's been inconsistent. We have a strong start with Asa, or your focus originally. Then after that, I don't know what happened. It's like this isn't helping anything.
Not
It's
really.
like we focus because I was thinking, okay, we're gonna focus on Asa and Yoru this entire part two, but apparently I was wrong. We are just jumping from one focus to another. It's like, okay, you can't make up your mind who you want to be the main thing to, you know, look into the perspective of this whole entire thing. We're just stuck on her or stuck on the next ones. We even get introduced to another. You know what? Now that I think about it, we got introduced to another dude that worked for the government. And he disappeared. His name is something like Yoshida.
Yeah.
He disappeared. That's what I was just, yeah, his ass disappeared. So yeah, he's gone. Apparently he forgot he existed. So one person even made a legitimate art of him, by the way. I saw it on the Tumblr. But
You don't need to bring that up. Like that.
okay, no, it just no. Actually, no. The reason I brought that up was because that's kind of how I discovered him. I'm just saying that's just kind of how I discovered. Like, oh, okay, so that's what we're doing. Okay, gotcha. No, but no. The point is that like I said, we just move on to some other shit. I'm like, okay, so we forgot about him, and then we just jump to basically starting a war again. Which again, Bush proved Makima's point about when she's trying to, create world peace, and then they didn't want that shit. So
Like
no
they, I
world
mean,
peace.
they
They
straight
just
up
want to
admit it.
continue destroying
They
everything.
straight up admit it. Everybody tells me Makima Simo. So it's like, oh, Makima Simo. Then why the government itself, by its own admission,
Mm,
it's like said that she wants world peace. We are against that. It's like it's like saying oh, this insert character, who yeah has his problems, but is a good person, is actually evil, and this obvious person who said the most obvious bad thing is the good guy. It's like, are we reading the same script? It's like,
I don't
it's
know. I don't know. Like I said, this is the problem with all the folks who keep bashing on Makima is that I hate to say this, but instead of people looking at the situation, like especially when they keep trying to treat her being shaped to be a weapon by the government, like that's just a cheap excuse. It's like it's really not because at the beginning she was like, and that's the other thing too, because of her upbringing and what she became, they focus way too much on her and just want to judge her instead of focusing on okay, the government caused that shit. It's not just her just being bad from the start. But that's the problem. They just turning the shit into something that's not. That's what that's what makes you tired of people when they attack Makima is that it's just them just barging their biases into the freaking situation, just treating her as a target for it, and then not acknowledging that the government is truly the real big problem, not her.
yeah,
Because she's just a product of that. She's just a product of that. Like I said, the government can literally make someone else be a weapon. It'd be easy to just attack them too. But people's biases make them not think like that. Sadly, so because like I said, it's like they can literally turn someone else into a weapon, make them turn into something else, and then be easy to just attack their asses, and then ignore the fact that she would be just like them. She's just a part of that. She's just a product of that stuff. And then, not to mention, like you even told me yourself, that she was real close to figuring out that the Government Devil was also a thing that was being used that was actually working with the government. And she was close to figuring that out until she couldn't. But yeah, like it's the government that's truly the villains, or should I say the bigger villains in the behind the scenes. But it's just people like to laser focus on Makima and then act like Makima is the only problem. And no, it's the government. Like again with the chapter, which I'm not sure the reading is like they even admit they don't want world peace.
yeah,
But it's like the thing is with Makima is like I said, people are just kind of using her as something just to throw all their biases at. And while they're like I said, they're not looking at the fact that she's just doing what she's taught. And
yeah,
then because of that, she has. And another thing too, I want to point out is that like you were mentioned before, like didn't you want to be treated like a dog, or whatever? It's like because she's just surrounded by selfish people and of course folks who ain't no good. It's like then that just reinforces her mindset. That just reinforces it what she was taught. So it's like They're not really challenging how she thinks. It's just kind of already pushing it to where it was already going in a bad way in the first place. It's like that's what the problem is because because for example in the lore itself in the bigger grander scheme of things like the public safety bureau, like her role there, that's why she was in charge of that, because when she was the head of it, then a lot of the devils would be under control, right?
Yeah,
Because then she was just doing what she was shaped to do. She keep them all under control. The building and everything would stay functional because of her. Now,
yeah,
now that she's gone, like you even say yourself, the public safety bureau has gone to shit because she's not there anymore. So now everything is torn. You know, it's all screwed up. Now the devils are all over the place, out of control. You know, I can't believe I'm saying this. I hate to say this. That I think about it this way, but didn't you kind of make the situation worse, not better? It's like because like now out of control, the devils in the city are out of control. Now things are a little bit more chaotic than you like, and I do mean in an unleashed kind of way. It's like he actually kind of made it worse, weirdly enough, indirectly. Like you just made it worse.
yeah.
It's like, well, that doesn't help anything. That does it. Wow.
The
You know, it's funny when you
it
think
is
about it in part
it's
two.
re it's
It's
really a
funny,
repeated cycle for Deji. That he gets manipulated
pretty
by
much,
everyone.
pretty much, pretty much the government too. Let's be honest.
Yeah, in a very indirect sense, but yeah,
Pretty much. No, because like I said, when I think about it, it's like you don't going through done one thing and then create another. It's like, oh well, that is not helping anything.
yeah,
Like, yeah, that is no. But no, but like I said, it's like that's what I'm saying. Like with the whole Chainsman thing, it's like again, her role was just to keep things under control, and that's what she was doing the best at. But like I said, at the end of the day, that's just her role from the government they put her in, And the only people that she actually generally actually kind of, gave it a grace was her own government, the guys behind the scenes.
yeah,
And like I said, at the end of the day, for her is that, she's just a product of, a really bad, government folks who only wanted her to do what she was taught and just to do, be their weapon. And that's all that was. Because I told you this before. Any Makima who would have met the right kind of person who actually does care about her and is unconditional, then she would end up like Shadow, and then she would walk out of the role being a weapon, and then would have went down a different path. But it's just unfortunate since she had Denji, which I hate to put, but let's be honest, since she had Denji and other folks that just wasn't that, then I just kept her stuck as a detached Makima, not an attached Makima. So
yeah,
because like I said, like even despite how things were, and now that I think about it, at least from her perspective, it's like that's why she thought control was the way to go because of how she was keeping the bureau functional. So then she thought that's how the world peace should have been. That's really what that was because she was keeping that under control. So it's like she created world peace to keep it under control like that. Then that would have kept it going, like what she said about no death, no diseases. Then she should have been keeping that positive setting going. That's why she thought that was the only way. But then again, that's all she knew until she would meet the right kind of person. It's like, yeah, that's all she knew. So that's why she was choosing that path forward. But as you can see, like you said, the government didn't want world peace. So it's like, yeah, that's how we got to that. And now here we are having world wars again with reinventing the weapons.
yeah,
But yeah, like that's the problem. That's the problem with that situation, because like I said, the government, as far as that goes, to part two, we won't have an individualist, we don't have an antagonist as that goes. We don't have someone we can say, okay, they're going to be in the debate next big problem. Yeah, there's no. I hate to say this, but there's no big bad for part two. It's just kind of it's all like I said, it's just a good start with Asa and Yoru, and after that, it's just kind of like okay, this is just going downhill from this point.
pretty much.
We jump from one focus to another. Like you said, they reintroduced Denji. He introduced Denji for some reason to the plot, but I don't know why. Because you already ended his story, but okay. And then we just got stuck with Yoru focused, and now I don't know what to tell you. I also don't know what to tell you
They just
because so far I hate to say this, but there hasn't really been much of a plot. There hasn't been much of a plot as far as that goes. It's
yeah,
just kind of it's just kind of like we jump from one shit to another. I don't know if it's because the dude doesn't know what to come up with. And then I'm like, okay, so what we doing? We got Yoru here. We got her back as a focus, but what we doing? Honestly, at the end of the day, And then it's like, okay, so I guess that doesn't count. I swear, and then to end the part two, like you know what? That's what makes it worse. Not only to have part two go to shit, but you're gonna end it. You're gonna start ending it soon. So, like I said, then when we go to part three, then what? And then with the way it looks, it's looking like to me like he's kind of screwing up his own little manga by making it shit at the end. And then I'm like in part two, and then I'm like, okay, you kind of screwing your own shit up, dude. It's like, do you really want your manga to turn into one of those ones that was remembered, then become immediately forgotten because of what happened with part two? It's
Or at
like,
least remember
is that something about?
the first part, that this forget every other
That's what
part.
I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of. Because let's be honest, dude. At this point, the only thing people mainly would be talking about is part one still, because part two was shit. I'm sorry, but part two was shit. At least in the last bits, part two was shit. Because once we get to that part, I'm afraid that it might be kind of forgotten. Because things just didn't do too well. Then when
I
people think of Chainsaw Man, it's gonna be like a lesser known. Like I'm afraid it might become a lesser known manga at this point. After that, because I'm like, because think about like I already told you, think about the reaction when part two comes out for the anime. Then it's really not gonna be so good. And then after that, after I could already see the viewership going low, and then it might even take it off a Crunchyroll and be like, well, it's not doing so well. So,
I
and
don't know.
then it's like,
I don't know what to call that part, but like
dude, there's no plot. Dude, once we go to Chainsaw Man Church, then what? Then people just gonna be like, I don't know. Actually, now that I think about it, let me give you an example. I remember Soul Eater had one episode where everybody literally skipped because there's nothing going on. I feel like that's what's gonna happen with Chainsaw Man Part Two once we reach past the Chainsaw Man Church. I'm like, oh, it's like we're gonna just skip this shit, or better yet, we're just not gonna pay attention to it because there's literally nothing going on. That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I fear. I don't wish it on them, but that's what I'm fearing for it. Like, because once you put that shit on Crunchyroll, put it everywhere, then people all of a sudden everybody's gonna be like, you know what, I'm not gonna pay attention to that. And then people in the comment section be like, did anybody else skip that part of the Chainsaw Man Church? Because nothing was really going on after that point. Like everything's just kind of random. And
yeah,
then that's what I'm afraid that's the reaction's gonna be. Because dude, we already jumped from one shit to another to this reinvention of the weapons. And then at that point, I mean, I'm like fucking kidding. You saw the comment section in that part. Everybody was saying, what the fuck is going on? Everybody was saying, okay, what kind of name is that? When the famine, or at least a plot twist, not the famine devil, but talking about little D, the death devil. It's like everybody's already having a what the fuck reaction. So just imagine for the viewership on the anime itself. You see, like then it's just gonna be like that, just with the bigger viewership.
yeah.
Because as we speak right now, not a lot of people know what's going on with the part two chapters. Not a lot of people know what's going on.
Not
And
really.
even if we do, and even if they do look at it, they're not going to talk about it. I'm sorry, but they're not.
Let's hope they
It's
get
like,
the let's hope they get the fucking Jujutsu Kaisen treatment hype. Where, look, I hate to
oh
say it
no,
for people who are fans of Jujutsu
oh no,
Kaisen. Like, I hate to say it,
oh
the
no.
show is mid. Okay, it's just
I
nothing.
mean, I
It's just
mean,
it's just
I,
nothing but hype.
I, I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm not really a fan of it. I mean, I should say I'm not all that invested into it because I haven't really watched too much. But well, there's no offense to me specifically, but yeah, for other people who are watching, yeah, like what he said. So it's like,
Yeah.
I
So
mean, I can't say nothing because I never watched it, but
yeah, same thing to
yeah,
same thing to solo leveling. It's just hype train.
I have not watched it either.
It's like
I have not watched it either.
does it have cool animation? Yes. Are the fight scenes are good? Yes. What about the character, the
Plot.
story, the plot? No substance. Like, that's
But dude, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I fear for part two because then, like I already said, even if people look at if the recent Shadow Chainsaw Man part two, they're not going to really say much about it. Then the same thing is going to happen when the anime part two drops in. It's like then it's going to be the same reaction. Then you talking about hyping it up. It's like, dude, that's just gonna. I've literally had this experience myself, where I literally saw a show one time where I was thinking, oh, this might be good, and then when I watched it, I realized it ain't shit going on. Then it's going to be the same reaction for people for part two. And I'm like, uh-oh, well, this is gonna go downhill because hyping up isn't gonna do shit. Like you say yourself, hyping shit up ain't gonna do shit. Like you said, it's mid. But here's the problem with part two: it's not mid. It's even worse than that. There's nothing going on. It's like, so what? How do you think that's gonna go?
I'm just
How do you
saying,
think that's gonna go?
for some
It's one
reason,
thing for something to be mid.
if for some reason
It's one thing.
for some reason the anime community, it can be the most mid show ever. But if you keep the fucking hype train, you gotta make money. Look at Jujutsu Kaisen Solo Leveling. Okay,
No, but here's the thing. No, but Yeah, but like I said, if it's one thing for something to be mid, but just imagine if there's nothing going on, then that's really going to be even worse. Then it's going to be like, oh, like even just see the advertising for it at that point, they're just going to disregard it because it's like, well, there's ain't shit going on here. It's like I hate to put it this way, but part two really ain't about nothing. I'm sorry, it's not. There's no like you can't like we can't say who's the main villain because there is no main villain. We can't say if there's a buildup. We can't say that there's any kind of like structure of like there's gonna be a conclusion at like hell, I don't even know what the conclusion will even be like at this point because of how the shit's been going in these last few chapters. And then, like I said, considering the reaction for part two isn't look so good online, like I said, then that's gonna translate to the viewership. They're probably gonna have a bunch of views in the beginning, or definitely because how part one will go. But then once we get to part two, then that's when the shit's gonna die out. Like, oh, ain't nothing going on here. It's like because you literally went on and back on that part two because you're just trying to see if there's at least something going on because you even quit it yourself after Chainsaw Man Church.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you even said you were trying to check. You even asked me, and I said I didn't even see. Like me, I didn't even go back to it because I saw there's nothing going on. So I said I didn't even bother with it after that again. You went back and forth trying to see. Okay, maybe there might be something. Nope, still nothing.
Really.
That's not good because, like I said, even the when you were trying to give it a chance, it just still kept basically screwed up your expectations for you. So it's like, okay,
Pretty
no,
much.
not so much for that.
Like
I mean, how many times?
even though I drop it off, I still occasionally come back to see like maybe something improved happened while I was gone, and when every time I come back, I'm like, why am I a masochist and why I keep coming back? It's like,
If that's how you feel, then that's exactly how the viewership's going to go when the anime part two drops. Because then it's just like I said. Did I fear what I fear for it? Because like you said, it's one thing for something to be mid, but it's another thing shit going on. So then that's just going to make the anime die out on its own. And that's what I fear for Chainsaw Man. It's like it's going to go from being a well-known anime to just being forgotten because that part two didn't have a plot, and then you can't even say it's mid because I mean, and that's another thing too that I think about it for Jujutsu Kaisen. I haven't watched it personally, so I can't say shit about it from my perspective. But judging by your perspective, like you said, there's not much of a plot, but there's at least something going for it, right? Like the fights and whatnot, and basically, you know, like at least there's something you can say that at least gives it some kind of closure. If not, like when you want to look at I guess I could say a formula for it,
uh-huh.
but it's really worse when you can even consider, well, like again, it's mid, but it has something that makes it mid, right? Because
Yeah.
at least like basically even if not like not just the visuals and even not of the characterizations and like the plot, at least you can say it's something, right? But if the shit if the shit ain't got nothing going for it, then like I said, that makes Jujutsu Kaisen look better in comparison. If at least there's something you can say it has, it's just mid. But as for like part two, since they ain't got shit going for it, you can't really say much. That's the sad part. You cannot really say much.
Not really. I hate to say that. Yeah.
Like I said, yeah, like I said, I hate to put it this way, but part two ain't about nothing. I'm sorry. Like I said, at least something that's mid has something, right? It still has something, even if it's mid. But if like I said, if part two ain't doing shit, then there's nothing really going on.
Mm.
As far as that goes, it's like no, because like you said, with the later chapters, it's just kind of all over the place and not much going on. It's like I said, it's not even mid; it's just nothing. So, and when you're left with nothing, don't be surprised when people have a detached response to it. Like don't be surprised when the viewership has a detached response. Like I said, like that's what I already predict for part two is that unless they use a different script, they're screwed for part two, or should I say he's screwed for part two. It's like unless you have a different script, you're screwed, bro. Your whole entire anime manga is gonna be forgotten because of that shit. Because oh man, that's not good. This was I feel like it's gonna be as bad as that time, like with the whole Rise of Skywalker, where one of the movies with Raya is that it got so bad they had to forget about everything happening in the other movie. It's like now I feel like it'll be something like that. Like, oh shit, we're just gonna forget about the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of. Like I said, because the moment we drop to Yoru and Asa, then you ain't got much to go by. Like, I mean, it'd be like again, the start of it has something, but after that, in the long run, that's why I quit. Like you kept going back to it. Me, I just stop altogether. And there's gonna be some people that's like me to just stop altogether and just not even bother. Even if they see an advertisement, they're gonna be like, "Oh, never mind." You know, it's like, "Oh, you looking at that? Like, okay, ain't nothing going on there. That's not gonna be good."
This is gonna be you like you watch the trailer. It's like on the next
Mhm,
new anime adaptation. Yo, a music's hype. Everything's fantastic. I wonder what it is.
mhm.
Officially, anime adaptation on part two of Chainsaw. I'm like, okay, okay, I'll stop here. It's like
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And there's gonna be some people that's like me. It's gonna be like, "Oh, forget about it." You know, like I said, because the moment, like I said, the moment they get into it, I wouldn't even be surprised if they just stop it altogether because they see the viewership is super low or just non-existent. That's not gonna be good.
pretty much.
Like I said, the moment we reach to these chapters, that shit's just gonna stop right there because no viewership. You know, like it's not much of a show if people ain't watching. Then at that point, yeah, it's gonna be dead. Like let's be honest, part two is dead already, and the anime ain't even dropped yet for that, and it's
That
already dead.
well, we haven't even covered the. We're not even halfway through part one when it comes to anime
No,
adaptation. So it's like,
no,
so
no, because use another example. Like, look at JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I mean, like, there was one part where people said was kind of boring, but I mean, wait, how many parts did you see from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or along from part one to part two to part three?
up to part six.
And was there any part before that you considered mid, or at the very least something, or maybe thought it didn't have something?
As mid? Uh, no, like only the first part I would consider mid, right? It's
Okay,
only for me
okay,
the
okay,
first part is the weakest for me. You know,
okay,
unless
okay.
you're most critical, who said part one is the best. I'm like, are you serious? Like you, nobody's gonna
Mm.
like nobody's gonna defend you at that position. I'm sorry, like you're on your own on that one. It's like,
Yeah, even I have to admit that. No, but when we go into part two, part three, and part four, I mean, what do you say about those parts? Like when we
oh,
focus to Joseph Joestar, Jotaro Kujo, and then Josuke, I forgot his fucking last name.
I like all of them. It's like I had no complaint. I think maybe this is a me. Was it the guy who is obsessed with hands? Part four or part five?
The guy obsessed with hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part four, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so okay, besides part one, probably part five was not as good as the other, but I wouldn't call it meh. You
But
know?
it has something going for it, right? It has something going for it,
Yeah,
even though you saw that's how it's going. You see, that's what I'm talking about. Like I said, he's already on part two. He's already on part two, and then the shit is go like that. Then I feel like it's just gonna stop right there. Because then I don't even think we'll get a part three after that if it's gonna go like that.
yeah,
I'm sorry, but that's what I'm saying. Because look, if all the if all of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure parts did okay, even if it was a little bit mid or something like that, then at least that dude still has something going for him, right? But as for him, with the Chainsaw Man Part Two, it's like I keep saying, it's like once you reach this, once you leave the part where we start, yeah, it's gonna just die from that point because there's nothing. Like I said, the moment it becomes adapted into the viewership, it's gonna be non-existent at that point. Like you're just literally gonna hear crickets in the background. Like,
yeah,
yeah, yes, because because that chapter, like the chapter you just showed me, you just recently got back on that just to see what's going on, didn't you? You literally
yeah,
just came back like just see what's going on, and I
yeah.
can already see your expectations are looking so great for it again because of that shit.
Pretty much. Like I said, like
Like I said,
I think the problem is the author. Like he is not known for making manga based on storytelling. Like he is like
true,
he is like
true.
he's like similar to like Jojo and Bucky, where the story it's the afterthought, right? The priority is more on the art, like the wacky scenarios, like how much crazy can I get with these? Like the story is not the priority, right?
But at least, but at least they got something going. He ain't got nothing going after part one. That's the only problem.
That's the
Like, yeah,
pro,
you could compare a little bit, but at
right,
least they
right,
got something.
right. But yeah, that is the problem because not only that he is not known for writing stories, right? Because Chainsaw Man, despite how ridiculous it is,
Right,
it's one of his least ridiculous works. At least like
right.
not as crazy compared to other ones. And because this is the first time
Hmm.
that he goes out of his way to make an actual story, and the first like
Hmm.
6 chapters were genuinely great, right? After
Right,
that, going downhill from there, I'm like, damn, so much potential given his first attempt of like like a actual like storytelling.
right.
So it's like, damn, like he has potential, but I guess he ran out of steam like real fast. Like,
It's starting to look that way. Yeah, because like, I mean, he had like again, he had a good start, but then after that, it seemed like he didn't know what to do with that start. It's like you building momentum, and he just lost momentum basically.
pretty
It's
much,
like I said, because like you use JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Baki thing, but at least they have something going for them, even if it's like not specific. Because people still pay attention to Baki manga because they want to see the next fight, not because of the story. So he has something.
yeah,
And then JoJo still does establish something, but him, well, like I said, we started off with a good story, and then when we go to part two, we're left with nothing in the long run. So it's like that's why I feel like with him, it's just gonna die out. Like his shit's just gonna be forgotten.
pretty much.
Like,
I
like
hate
I hate
that.
to say it, but
Yeah,
yeah, I hate to say it, but his Chainsaw Man thing started good, and then once we reached part two for the anime itself on when it when on TV, yeah, it's just gonna be forgotten at that after that. Then people gonna be like, "What the hell is Chainsaw Man?" Like, like it's like,
but
he screwed it up. He screwed it up.
I
He screwed
just
it up.
I just hope they do well, not they, but like the fan reaction about like what they did with the original Scooby Doo. I know that's a weird ass comparison, but hear me out. It's
Okay, what the fuck? Okay,
like if people remember, like when people think of the original Scooby Doo, right? Like people talk about, oh, all these episodes,
right.
right? You will notice almost every single episode they mention of the original version is from season one.
Uh, Pretty much.
People forget
Oh
that
no, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good.
people forget there are 3 seasons,
Uh-oh.
and
That doesn't sound good.
season two was still good mostly until like halfway through, and then like at the very end of season two and the entirety of season three is very forgettable and shit. It basically became the Shaggy show, right? Este, but even
Oh.
after 50 plus years, right?
Uh-huh.
People still talk the original series, but only season one. And I think the best case scenario that's gonna happen to Chainsaw Man, where they still gonna
We're
talk
just gonna talk
about
about
it.
part one.
Yeah, only
They're just
part
gonna talk
one.
about part one.
Yeah,
I can
and
see that. I can see that. I can see it, Sally. That's not good. That's not good. But that's still not good because then people are just gonna talk about part one. They're not gonna talk about part two. I mean, even if he does make a part three, which I don't know if he will, or I don't even know if that's gonna be a thing because of considering how shit's been going for part one, I'm like, then I'd have to just feel like, look, part one is good, but as soon as you make it to the next parts, it's just kind of shit, or not kind of is shit. I could just already see the reaction of like, oh, once we make it to the next parts after part one, it's just shit. Like you said, it's like it's just gonna be known for part one, and that's it. After that, you're left with nothing.
pretty much.
Once we go to part two, part three, I mean, he didn't even start part three, but I just fear that that's like that example you just used. That's going to be the reputation for Chainsaw Man. Oh yeah, part one is good. After that, it's just shit. It's
Pretty
like
much.
that's
Like
not good.
at the
That's
very
not
least,
good.
at the very least, in that scenario, it's still being remembered and loved, just not in its
At
entirety.
least
You know,
no,
it could be worse.
no.
It could be one of those cases where it ends so badly to the point that people forget the series altogether.
Oh no, that's bad. That's
Like
bad. That's bad.
look at, I hate to say this because I'm a fan. Look at
Uh
Game of
oh.
Thrones. You know,
Uh oh.
the first 4 seasons, amazing, right?
Right.
Because it was based on the books. They literally ran out of material, so
Oh no.
season 5 to 9 was just filler, right? Because they ran out of material, right?
Oh no.
because the ending of the show was so bad, it is so notoriously bad, it was forgotten overnight. Not slowly over time,
Oh shit.
forgotten. Not slowly, slowly over time before. We talk about like overnight, in less than a year, a show that Abby was talking about, and less than a year after the horrific ending, well, people don't even remember the show anymore, like even existed, despite being the most hyped show on television at the time.
But see, but that's another problem too. That you just said that because also because he's ending the shit soon, even though shit ain't even well written this good. Then I just feel like I hate to say it, but then I almost feel like the same thing will happen with that too because the way he written the way he's writing part two is that he's already talking about a ending and shit ain't even making sense. There's no subtext. You talking about an ending. Then I feel like because of the way he's might do it, then people might just forget about it altogether. That's what I fear for that.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Because I know like you were using the Scooby Doo example, like people just remember it mainly for part one, which I hate to tell you, dude, but people already just kind of remember it mainly for part one. Part two, no one really talks about part two too much. Even
yeah,
now, people don't talk about part two that much. It's like I said, he's already about to end the shit. But then once we finish part two, even though unfortunately he's already for some reason I don't even know what the fuck is going on. It's like he's not he's not cooking anything up. He's just screwing everything up. That's the sad
yeah.
part. And then
That's the problem.
look
It's like
looking at the way
people will say, "Let him cook, let him cook." It's been cooking for too long. It's already burned. They're like,
it's burned. It's over burned. How about that? And then, not to mention, here's another thing I want to point out. How the hell we go from whatever this Yoru was doing to America making nuclear weapons again?
yeah,
And then like I said, I feel like because the way he's writing this shit, I feel like people are just gonna forget about Chainsaw Man altogether because he's not. He has no direction in part two. He like is like here. Let me point something out to you. Let me point something out to you real quick. Is that part one? After that ended, he had a direction still. He could do anything with that direction after that, right?
yeah,
He could do a whole lot. But as soon as we start that shit and go on to this part, onto the shit right after the Chainsaw Man Church shit, then now that direction's lost. Now he has no more direction. And now because he has no direction and is already planning to end it, then I feel like it's going to end on a bad note where people are just going to forget about Chainsaw Man altogether because there's no direction for it. And then it's just going to end with no direction. So it's like, oh, what the fuck, you know?
pretty much.
That's what I fear. I mean, I don't wish it on him, but I'm fearing that's what's going to happen because, like I said, like you see how I never bothered with part two ever again. So then I fear like that's going to be the same thing when people watch the anime of it. Like for part two, it's like then it's just going to be like fuck it, and then the viewership going to be so damn low that nobody's really going to even give it a thought. Even if they see an advertisement and shit, it's like, yeah, this sucks. Like I said, I even remember an anime where people literally skipped an episode. I just told you about where because there was nothing really going on in the episode because it was just that bad. So like I fear that it's going that direction where it's like it's so bad that literally nobody even bothered paying attention to it. That's just how bad it was.
Pretty much.
Because at least stuff that's mid, people will still talk about it, right? People will still pay attention to it, even if it's mid. But if there's literally ain't shit got going on for it, well then don't be surprised if people have to attach a response to it. Like they don't even give it a glance. That's not good. Like that's the kind of reaction I fear that's just gonna be for Chainsaw Man once it reaches its end for part one. It's just gonna be people going like, oh, part two. Like I said, like you said, they're gonna mainly remember for part one. Even now, people mainly remember for part one, but once you reach onto that next one, it's just gonna be people not even giving it a second glance. Like because especially I can just imagine all the arcs we entered into, or I can just imagine all the arcs we enter into with Asa and Yoru, and the moment we go to past the Chainsaw Man Church one, then that's when people are just gonna drop it. That's what I fear because this has happened before for show. I can give you another show where that happened, where everybody just dropped the show because of that one season, or because of how that season went. I think another close example I could use is like the Flash, where, like you said, season one was good, but then after that, it was just shit.
Like
It's just
that's
like Flash,
people talk about like the first two seasons. It's like, oh,
right?
what is the best season of the Flash? Season two. And how many seasons does it have? Like 10. So only two seasons. The first two are good. Like, oh, who keeps watching these at this point? Like, who's funding this? It's like,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like people like part like season one, season two, but then after that, that season is just pretty much done for. Like that show's pretty much done for after that. Like even like there's another show I can't. Okay, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like I said, that one had even worse reaction. People just dropped the entire thing altogether. Where, like I said, the viewership, it just like I said, it's you're gonna. I can't remember the name of the show sadly, but yeah, like I said, it's just gonna turn into one of those things where it's like it had. Should I even really use this one as an example? Because this was on Crunchyroll.
It is
Oh
anime related,
shit!
so why not?
No. I just thought about. No, I just thought about it. 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 Like, remember? Okay, I don't. I talked to you about this before. Remember the Shenmue show? Yeah,
Yeah.
the viewership for that was going downhill too. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
When I told you that they were trying to cram two of the games together, and then in that one season, and that's what fucked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the viewership went downhill. That's what the viewership went downhill. And then that shit just got canned. Now I feel like that's gonna be the future for Chainsaw Man. If like I said, unless they have someone else, which I unfortunately doubt at the moment, but like unless they have someone else that like has a script that will fix those problems, the issues of part two, yeah, you can just kiss that shit goodbye. Like
Pretty much.
because it's one thing, like I keep saying, it's one thing for something to be mid, but if there's nothing going on, and then it ends with nothing going on, yeah, then people will probably going to forget about Chainsaw Man because it's bad when people were talking about Game of Thrones like crazy, and then they immediately forgot about it because of that one shit that happened. Then it just shut down the entire franchise altogether. That's not good.
Pretty much. It's like,
That's not good.
and that is the shitty part, right? It's like as a fan, like of any series or franchise that you deeply care about, right? It doesn't matter what it is, where it's like it starts good, right? And for whatever reason, the author or the producer or whatever the case that it is, right,
Hmm.
fucks it up to the point that
Oh no.
not only disappoint the fans, which is gonna happen to almost every franchise. There's always that one thing an individual fan will not like, right? That's a given. Este,
Hmm.
sorry.
Bless
Este,
you.
but the problem is, if you fuck up so bad to the point that even non-fans starts hating it, you're screwed.
That's bad. That's bad. And by the way, dude, I was just going to point out to you real quickly that this video went a lot longer than it really should have. So you want to end it from here?
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you everybody who watched this video, and also a quick note, because if people are up to date with the news about the internet censorship, especially on YouTube, if the Unity
Yep.
ID with bullshit, people should stand up about that because you are obligated. You have the right to call them up on services because they are obligated to respond your phone call. So I'm just saying, keep annoying the fuck out of YouTube and other company so they can not do that nonsense. Because for some reason, the internet bullying works. I don't encourage bullying in real life, but under this specific circumstances against a corporation, this is the exception.
Stick it to the man. Stick it to corporation.
Yeah,
Rebellion, people. Join the rebellion like with Star Wars.
yeah. Viva la
Except for Han
revolución.
Solo, because now I say except for him because except for Han Solo because he's basically no longer being played by Harrison Ford, so that's
Oh
that's a
yeah,
no brainer. So just go with Andor, go with the Andor way, not the
yeah,
Han Solo way, the
yeah.
Andor
The
way.
other one,
Let's get with that.
the anarchist syndicalist, collective. Viva la
Yes,
revolución.
yes, yes. That's it. Right. Well, I was X, and I liked doing this talk about how shit was going on with Fortune for Part Chainsaw Man Part 2.
Yeah,
And gaming fan also would like to tip his hat. You can't see it, but he's doing it. And yeah, that's in this video.
yeah. Good night.